What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 2, Round 18, the Brazilian Grand Prix. So we go into this one. It was our MGU-H that went in the last episode. You may remember that in Mexico, if you watch the video, we retired from the race because of a mechanical failure. It was the MGU-H, so we're going to have to put a brand new one of those on the car this race weekend, which is going to give us, I believe it's a 10-place grid penalty. So we'll see how that goes. I think a lot of other drivers will be taking penalties too, because you get towards the end of the season like this and the AI just start taking penalties like crazy. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like that in real life as well. So it might not be as bad as we are thinking. We look at R&D here, and I mean, we improve a little bit, but so does Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren. Red Bull actually falling behind a little bit here, but they're still very much in the fight. That top 5 group still very close, but I mean, top 4 especially now, absolutely ridiculously close. Pretty much myself, my team, Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren all went up in pretty much the exact same direction at the exact same, angle. So it's going to be really close between us, and I'm looking forward to this race because I do really like Interlagos. This is one of, if not my favorite track on the calendar. I really enjoy driving this track. It's just such a fun track to drive. It's a short lap, which I also quite like, and it's a fast flowing, really nice one. So it is one that I generally tend to be decent speed wise. I remember in F1 2020 I was way quicker at this track than I was at any other track. In this game it seems to be a little bit more balanced, but yeah, I'm hoping for a decent result here, but it is going to be very close between those top 5 teams, which are the top 10 drivers, which is essentially Q3. So yeah, it's going to be exciting here. We've seen in the last couple of races it's been difficult to get into Q3 just with how close those drivers are, and Pierre Gasly being the main one, stepping up from the midfield group and managing to get in with that top 10. So we've seen ourselves dropped out of Q2 a couple of times and not make it through to Q3. Thankfully though, this time we do make it through to Q3. This is a little bit of my Q2 lap here. Just absolutely pushing the car as much as I could. I found a pretty decent setup and generally was just happy with how the car was driving. I'm still a little bit slow in quali compared to in the race, but in saying that, that's compared to all the other drivers in the other teams. But compared to Fernando Alonso, I'm only like a 10th off him in this, and I believe the last run as well, only a 10th or 2 off his time. So I'm very close with Alonso, who is driving my car. So I suppose I'm not actually doing that bad, although my team is apparently the quickest team on the grid. It is so close, and I guess it depends, it varies from track to track. But yeah, me and Alonso, we've been 9th and 10th respectively. Well, Alonso 9th, me 10th in both Q1 and Q2, and we're sitting 9th and 10th at this current point in time as I'm going out for my run in Q3 here. So this is my full Q3 run, and I was just absolutely putting the power down. I think in my Q1 I did a 105.9. Q2 I did a 105.8. So see what we can get here. I was just absolutely pushing as hard as I could, trying to get those lines a little bit off on the curb there, but plenty of speed through here, ride the curb, doesn't really lose me time there. It's just good riding out onto that curb and then just put the throttle down to go onto the front straight. It's a very long front straight, bit of a corner there, but it's still a straight. You're flat out all the way through. DRS activated very early on, and it pushes you all the way to the line. It's a 105.6, which actually puts us ahead of Alonso. We end up P9, Alonso P10, so we're into the top 10. We're doing good here. It's a Ferrari 1-2 and a McLaren 3-4, so looks like they're looking good for this race.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again, with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. We're racing today then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7-mile circuit, and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3. And that gives us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. And it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, How do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the rundown into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Giovinazzi, Shaw, Charles Leclerc and Sainz. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Bottas, Norris, Vettel and George Russell. Hamilton, Stroll, Nicholas Latifi and Raikkonen. Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon, they've taken a grid penalty, and Yuki Tsunoda. Lundgaard, Ricciardo, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Gasly and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So it is a bit interesting here. We take a 10-place grid penalty, but we're actually starting P4 after qualifying P9. So I don't know if just that's the way the penalties have worked out for everyone else, or if something's glitched out here and it hasn't actually given me a grid penalty. But underway here, we get a very good start. We're actually alongside Giovinazzi into turn 1, but he manages to get the move on us, and Leclerc is now attacking us, and we ride it a little bit too much over the curbs through that second corner, and now we're going to have to defend from Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari behind. We've got 2 Ferraris behind us. These two both first and second in qualifying, but ended up behind us on the grid. I honestly think that there may have been a glitch here where it didn't actually give me my grid penalty, but hey, I'm gonna take it. There's nothing I could do about it. That's just happened to be what's happened here. I mean, I guess cars in front of me could have had more than 10-place grid penalty, and that's why it's done it. But I'd still be amazed at how I would end up in P4 from qualifying P9 and having a 10-place grid penalty. But hey, I think it's a glitch. But I'm going to take it because, well, there's not really much else I can do. The event had already started, so I couldn't really change anything. As we look on lap 1 here at Fernando Alonso, he's starting P15 because of his grid penalty. Didn't quite work out in the way that it did for us for him, and he's going for a move on Kimi Raikkonen, the 2 oldest drivers on the grid here, and I think there's a little bit of contact with them through turn 1, as now Alonso is losing out, and he seems to be losing out quite a lot to Kimi Raikkonen in front. There was contact there, and Alonso would have to come into the pits on lap 2. As we continue through here, we have a great first sector, purple first sector, but now we're behind Giovinazzi and we're behind Perez. Verstappen's actually got himself into the lead after starting P2 on the grid, and is starting to pull away from the rest of the grid, but we are also pulling away from the rest as well. You've got Verstappen with a big gap back to then a big train of Perez, Giovinazzi, myself, Leclerc and Sainz. So from 2nd to 6th, very, very close on track. As we now look at one of the Williams, I believe this is Valtteri Bottas going for a move on Lando Norris in the McLaren. That Williams showing some good pace here. I mean, this is quite an easy track to overtake on with the DRS zone and everything, so it shows that even the Williams can do some stuff here. And he's actually going to the inside of Norris into this next corner, and you've got Vettel around the outside as well. It's 3 wide going through that corner. Very, very good stuff here. Bottas, unfortunately, does not work out for him, but now it's Lando Norris v Sebastian Vettel. Vettel's going to come out on top in that one and gain 2 positions through that section of corners. Great little run from him there, but a great run from Bottas to, to basically just put up a fight in that Williams. Let's remember, the Williams is somewhat in the midfield pack now. As we now continue onto the end of lap number 6 onto lap number 7, we are closing up to the back of Giovinazzi. He's going defensive to the inside. We're going to try around the outside, but we've got a wheel on the dirt, on the grass, on the outside, and that massively compromises us under braking, and we have to just gather it all back up. But that's now compromised our run down here quite a bit, and it means that Charles Leclerc is going to be looking there. I'm looking in my mirrors. He can't quite do anything though, as we've still got the DRS on Giovinazzi, and Leclerc's not quite close enough. And now we've got Kimi Raikkonen, a very, very scary moment from him there, trying to get a move done back on Lando Norris again. And this just shows you how the DRS is so effective at this track. He's round the outside there, side by side, going through the center S's here, and it's very exciting stuff. But Lando Norris just about come out on top this time. But now there's the DRS zone here, which Raikkonen has the DRS. He's going to go for a move around the outside of Norris. You've also got a, I think that's Bottas and Tsunoda in the background there as well, side by side. Norris just about manages to hang on to the position from Raikkonen though, but it is a big old gaggle of cars here as we see the other McLaren further back. He's making a move on one of the Alpines that is there. I'm not sure who that is, might be Esteban Ocon, and he's got that position done there. As you can see here, the gaps are big between Verstappen and Perez, and then the gap from Sainz back to, I'm not even sure who that is, down in 7th place, but literally Perez, Giovinazzi, myself, Leclerc and Sainz in this big group here. Perez perhaps slowing us down a little bit here, doesn't seem to have as much pace as his teammate. As we continue now, lap number 10, and we are still not quite close enough, but we get him under braking, we get a good run, but then bump him a little bit through the next corner. I have got to now check to make sure that we've got no damage, but thankfully we don't. You can see as well we've got some worn parts on the engine because I changed the MGU-H because I had to, because we broke the last one, but I've decided not to change the turbo and the control electronics wheel, which, to be honest, especially now, I was going to see if I could make them last till the end of the season. We've only got 2 more races to go, but I think I'm going to have to change them later on, but, you know, that isn't as big of a deal now that we have not really a grid penalty for this race. But now we're making a move on Sergio Perez up the inside from this DRS zone, and we get the move done pretty easily. He doesn't fight it too hard, the Mexican driver, and he's just going to let us go past. He's going to stay on the back of us though, but now he's going to have the Ferraris to worry about, and those Ferraris are looking very quick. Let's remember they qualified P1 and P2, so they're looking like they are the quicker cars here. Although Verstappen is now into the pits, it looks like him and Giovinazzi are going for a 2-stop strategy here. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I was originally going to do a soft to hard strategy. Then my team said, you know what, you can make them softs last a bit longer. We can do a soft to medium strategy, so I accepted that. But now I want to see what Charles Leclerc is going to do. He's going to come in for a set of hard tyres, so he's going to be going to the end on hard. And I think, you know what, my race at the moment, I think it's with the Ferraris, possibly for the win. I mean, if we can do a one-stop and pull that off, and Verstappen and Giovinazzi can't quite make the moves on the 2-stop, then it could be a race for the win between myself and the 2 Ferraris. So I'm going to cover off Charles Leclerc, make sure that he doesn't get the undercut on me. So I'm going on to a set of hards as well. Carlos Sainz came in too. He ends up just behind his teammate coming out of the pits there. So Leclerc is still the car right behind me. There's a few cars up ahead that haven't come into the pits yet, but the last one comes into the pits of Sebastian Vettel. And now it's back to Verstappen in first. Giovinazzi's now second because Sergio Perez, his pit stop hasn't worked. He actually came in quite a bit earlier for the hard tyres, but right now Charles Leclerc is going for a move on us down this corner here off the DRS zone. He gets alongside, but he can't quite do anything, but he's staying right behind me coming up to this next section. He's within 0.2 of a second, but at the moment can't quite do anything and has to stay behind us. But it's all very, very close here. Like I said though, Sergio Perez was in second place, but his lack of pace here, and also he came in for an earlier pit stop onto the hard tyres. He's also going for a one-stop strategy, it seems, but he's been undercut by myself and the 2 Ferraris, so not a good day for Leclerc. But it's not a good day for Leclerc. I was going to say for Perez, but it's definitely not a good day for Leclerc. His car has gone up in smoke, the Ferrari engine showing that it doesn't have the greatest durability right now, and Leclerc is out of the race with a mechanical failure. He was having a great battle with us here. He qualified on pole position, but thanks to the penalty ended up starting, I think, P5 behind us, but Leclerc now out of the session. As we look a little bit further back, we have Pierre Gasly defending from Lando Norris right now. Norris is going for a move around the outside of the next corner. You've got Fernando Alonso sniffing around in the background there. Norris and Gasly still side by side through this whole section. They're going to go up the very quick right-hander. This could be a scary point to go too wide. Gasly backs out of it. Lando Norris keeps his foot in, and Fernando Alonso manages to make a move on Gasly as well. So poor Gasly has lost 2 positions in the space of a couple of, well, one corner really there. As we continue on now, and Sainz is showing that the Ferrari is quick even in his hands, well, as well as in his hands, should I say, as he's now caught right up to the back of me, and Perez is trying to follow him through, but he's not quite got the pace. He can't quite keep with us, as well as now down at the front straight once again, lap number 25. We're just watching in our rearview mirror as we were fighting with Leclerc before, but we could now be having a fight with the other Ferrari, this time of Carlos Sainz. We get a little bit of a wheel on the grass once again, going through the first corner, and that massively compromises our run going down to the next DRS zone. And this time I'm going to have to go very defensive from Carlos Sainz. He's going to go to the outside, round the outside of this next corner. He's still there alongside, and I just try and put a bit of ERS on to keep him back, but he's got a better run off the corner, and now we're going to go side by side through this very fast right hand corner, and I just can't quite keep the traction on the outside line, and Sainz has managed to get me. He's now up into the lead because Verstappen has come in for his final pit stop onto a final set of soft tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see if Verstappen can make that 2-stop work, as really at the moment it's a race for the lead between myself and Sainz on the one-stop strategy. This time we're coming back at him into turn 1, round the outside. This time let's make sure we don't put a wheel on the grass. We haven't quite managed to make the move stick at this point in time, but and potentially had our next run into this zone compromised a little bit too there, being side by side with him through the corner. But we're still going to have a little bit of a look, have a look to the inside, but can't quite do anything, and he doesn't go defensive because he knows we're a bit too far back, and at the moment he stays in front. But we're going to keep applying the pressure on him, and next time around, once again, we've got a great run with the DRS, with the ERS. This time, though, he positions his car right in the middle of the corner, well, in the middle of the straight going into the corner, and I just can't quite put my car where I want it, but it means that now I've got a little bit of a better run coming onto this next DRS zone because I haven't been compromised as much, and now we're going to go for the move round the outside of the next corner. He does a very late brake maneuver. We try and keep it on the outside. There's a bit of a squabble from Sainz there, and now it's going to be the same again, but this time we're on the outside. Sainz is on the inside. We bang tyres. I try and keep it through on the inside, but this time he really shows that he's got a great car underneath him for this circuit. Great traction, and manages to keep it round the outside, and he's still in the lead. We're having a great battle with Sainz for the win here. As we look further back, Lando Norris now battling with the other Alfa Romeo of George Russell. They're going 2 by 2 through this next section. That Alfa Romeo seems to be having a pretty decent time at this track here. And now we get the backwards cam from Norris. Alonso is also going to go up the inside with Russell round the outside. Great little battle here. Looks like Fernando is just going to get squeezed out. But now Lando Norris and George Russell side by side. They're going to go 2 by 2 through this section as well. So much good racing here, but this time it's Lando who has to back out, and George Russell manages to keep the position. Great race from him at the moment. As we carry on with our race, we are absolutely flying away from Sergio Perez behind, who's actually being caught by his teammate who's on a 2-stop, so that could get interesting once those two meet each other on track. And we are just trying to stay as close as we can through the corners here to Sainz, because it's very difficult to stay close through the corners, but if you can stay close enough, and you don't even have to be that close, then you have got a big opportunity into turn 1, which once again we're going to do. We're going to once again go around the outside of turn 1, but he brakes late. But this time we're not going to fight him too hard because we don't want to compromise our run going onto the next DRS zone. However, I think we might have compromised a little bit too much because we're a bit further back here, and this time nothing we can really do on lap 31. And once again we're just staring at the back of that Ferrari. Sainz looking to get his first victory in Formula 1, and actually the first victory for Ferrari in this career mode, because Ferrari haven't won a single race in this career mode of mine yet, as now we hit Nikita Mazepin, one of the back markers. He's let Sainz pass and then lets me pass through the next corner, so thankfully neither of us really losing much time there, which is good. We definitely don't want to be losing time to Verstappen, because there is a chance that he could potentially, if he really puts his foot down, go and catch up to us at the end of this race. But now, once again, we're a little bit too far back. We have a little look to the outside, but once again, Sainz is defending very well into turn 1. We head through the center S's, and this time I'm very close. I've managed to say very close behind the Spaniard through here, and this time we're having a little look up the inside. We're forcing him to go. We're going to do the switch back to the outside. This time he doesn't brake quite as late. We catch him off guard a little bit. We're up on the curb, but we've made the position stick, but he's right behind me, and I'm worried that he's going to try and make a move into this next section, but he doesn't quite have the speed and the pace to do it this time, and we have got in front of him lap number 34, but there's still 2 laps of the race yet to go. As now, I was talking about it earlier, the 2 Red Bulls finally find themselves on track together. Verstappen trying to make a move on his teammate Sergio Perez for the final podium position. Verstappen is the quicker car on track right now because he's on a 2-stop. He's on a fairly fresh set of soft tyres. Perez on the hards. He hasn't got him through turn 1, but now he's going to have the run onto the next part of the corner, onto what I think is, you would count as turn, I guess it's turn 4, isn't it? And he's made the move stick, and that should be Verstappen up into 3rd place. But it's lap 35 of 36. I don't think he's going to have, well, he's definitely not going to have enough time to catch myself and Sainz up ahead as we head on to the final lap of the Grand Prix. I'm going very defensive into turn 1 here, but he's not quite close enough. But that is a bit of a worry for me, actually, because I'm now worried that he's going to be able to get a run on me down this next DRS zone. And sure enough, look at the closing speed on the Ferrari. He's going round the outside. He tries to brake late, but I'm just going to hug the inside and then squeeze him out of the corner, and we've managed to keep him back. But it's not all over yet. We should be able to keep him back through the middle of this lap. Then it's the run onto the front straight once again, where we're going to have to make sure he is not close enough and we can keep him behind. Well, we've got a 7/10, I believe that's 7/10 of a gap back to him coming onto the front straight here, and I reckon that means that we've managed to make this work. We're going to go through, we're going to come to win the Brazilian Grand Prix. A little bit of a wheel shake at the end there. It was an exhilarating race. That was honestly, I think, the best battle for the lead I've ever had in an F1 game. Definitely that we've had in this career mode of ours so far. Absolutely amazing battle with Sainz in the Ferrari, and a legendary win for us. It's a good one.
It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. Another superb Brazilian Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
So there we go, we win the Brazilian Grand Prix, but Carlos Sainz, he does a great job. He gives us a great battle in this one to come home in P2, so close to his first win of Formula One ever, and the first for Ferrari in this career mode of ours, but it is not quite to be, and Max Verstappen ends up P3, but the big talking point of this is that Lewis Hamilton secures the championship in this race. He is the 2022 Season 2 F1 World Champion. It's his 8th world title. He narrowly missed out from Bottas last season, but he's got it this season. 8 world championships for Lewis Hamilton. He is the new most decorated the driver with the most Formula One World Championships, beating Mick Schumacher. So that is awesome to see from him. Sergio Perez moves up to P2. That battle for P2 is still very, very much there, and we're up into P6 actually, so we are potentially going to be getting into that fight as well. I think we might be a little bit far off that, but yeah, we're definitely up there for sure. And then we're also up to P4 in the Constructors' Championship as well, just about beating out Ferrari, and Red Bull put themselves back up into P2. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.